First chat. Boston, they packed me up.
Hey, yo, what the fuck?
Boston, they packed me up, my boy. God.
Jaylen Brown traded to the Sixers. Shocking. What is going on? That is historic. The Celtics are owned by an investment group that does not also own TD Garden. So they're not swimming in cash. It's not very profitable. They've got two guys, Tatum and Brown, playing together for 9 years, one title. And they're clearly falling behind San Antonio and Oklahoma City. Brad Stevens has a boss. Number two is trading super max players in 2026. It's hard. Cost control is everything. That's the new NBA. Number three, analytics run baseball and basketball. Analytically, I'm sorry, Jaylen Brown's not a number one.
Boston didn't just move on. Boston made a statement. And that's exactly why this story has grown into something much bigger than an ordinary trade. What we heard wasn't the polished, carefully prepared farewell that usually comes from a star leaving a major franchise. Instead, it was honest, emotional, and at times, surprisingly blunt. The moment he said, "Boston packed me up," you could immediately tell this was personal. As he continued speaking, it became increasingly clear that his frustration wasn't only about basketball, roster changes, or a front office making a business decision. It sounded like someone who felt caught off guard, disrespected, and left without the transparency he believed he had earned after everything he contributed to the organization. He explained that he never looked for shortcuts, never asked for special treatment, and never expected to receive privileges that others didn't. From his perspective, he showed up every day, embraced every challenge, represented the franchise with pride, invested in the community, and played a major role in helping establish a winning culture.
Jaylen Brown, I had two NBA sources tonight, two people in the league, one an executive, one a scout, say that Jaylen Brown it's a disease. He suddenly thinks he's the smartest guy in every room he's in. I've worked with people in the media. It's really, you get into a really bad space. You make a lot of money. Suddenly you're absolutely sure. You don't want to listen to your bosses. You don't want to listen to consultants. You don't want to listen to teammates. Jaylen's kind of, and by the way, one executive told me, this was always a little bit of Jaylen Brown's personality, kind of the smartest guy in the room, and live streaming and throwing it out there. And that's just not a good space. It used to be nothing good happens after 3 a.m. Nothing good happens when pro athletes live stream. It's just trouble. Stay away from it.
So when he said it was definitely a message being sent, everything about the situation took on a different meaning. Now, fans aren't just wondering why the Celtics decided to move on. They're trying to figure out what that message was, who was sending it, and why he believes the organization deliberately made his exit feel humbling. That's also where Brad Stevens becomes part of the conversation. While he stopped short of criticizing Brad directly, he didn't exactly rush to defend him either.
First chat. Boston, they packed me up.
Hey, yo, what the fuck?
Boston, they packed me up, my boy.
He acknowledged that Brad is probably taking plenty of criticism, then added that he wasn't happy with the way certain conversations were handled. At the same time, he made it clear that the situation was bigger than Brad. That one statement changes the conversation because it hints that there may have been larger forces involved behind the scenes, whether ownership, internal decision-making, organizational politics, image concerns, locker room dynamics, or factors the public still doesn't fully understand. The most controversial part isn't simply that he was traded, it's that he seems to believe he had earned enough respect to at least receive complete honesty about what was happening. That's the emotion you can hear in his voice. It's more than disappointment. It's the kind of frustration that comes from realizing that loyalty and everything you've contributed don't always guarantee transparency. He also kept saying that he's still trying to process everything. And that stands out because most players release a polished statement, thank the fans, acknowledge that basketball is a business, and move forward. Instead, this sounded like someone who is still piecing the situation together in real time, wondering whether the explanation he received was incomplete or intentionally left vague.
Was received. I wasn't thrilled with the amount of respect that was showed during this process. You know, I think there was a bit of a lack of respect. I think it was fine at one point, and then out of nowhere, things just kind of went left. I think Brad is probably getting a lot of the criticism. I wasn't thrilled the way he facilitated some of the conversations, but I definitely think there's more to it. Chat, there's definitely more to it. I just wish that the more to it could have been explained to me, because if the more to it was explained, I think I would have understood. I thought I earned respect enough to get that explanation, but hey, obviously I was wrong. Hey, but that's life. We move on. One thing I wish in this whole process, and it's good to get it out the way so we can move forward. I wish that my integrity and character haven't been.
And when a player says, "I wish more of it had been explained to me," that's not a minor complaint. It's a clear indication that, from his perspective, the public explanation and what happened behind closed doors don't fully line up. Celtics fans are free to support the front office's decision, but his comments suggest he believes he never received the complete explanation he deserved. If that's how he truly experienced the situation, then Boston's reputation as a straightforward, championship-focused organization becomes part of the discussion. Instead of being viewed purely as a model of professionalism, some fans may see the decision as an example of a business-first approach that can feel impersonal, even when it's presented as standard basketball logic.
I have never had a problem with Jaylen Brown in my entire career until a couple of years ago when I went on the air and I received a text message. And it was from a source basically talking about how Jaylen Brown wasn't necessarily liked and wasn't as marketable as he should be. What Jaylen Brown left out was that I was defending him. When somebody said that, I said he's a superstar caliber talent and a model citizen who doesn't get into any trouble whatsoever. He's an activist, politically conscious, and someone who speaks truth to power. He deserves better. And I pointed to the lack of a sneaker deal as proof that the system had failed.
That's why this story has captured so much attention. Fans can accept a trade. They can even accept the disappointment that comes with losing a favorite player. But what many struggle with is the idea that someone can devote years of his career, sacrifice his body, build his identity, and form a deep connection with a city, only to feel like he became just another asset once the decision was made, without receiving the explanation he believed he deserved. Then came the moment that made the entire situation feel even more emotional. He described arriving at the team facility, scanning his keycard, and discovering that it no longer worked. Whether routine or not, that's a powerful image. It isn't just symbolic, it captures the reality of how quickly life can change in professional sports. One day you're part of the organization, and the next, you're standing outside a door that no longer opens for you. People often say sports are just a business, but moments like that remind everyone there's a human side behind every transaction. They highlight the personal impact that roster decisions can have on the players involved, even when those decisions make sense from a basketball standpoint. Now, the biggest question remains: did Boston make the right move for the future of the franchise, or did the organization handle the situation in a way that created unnecessary resentment with a player who believed he had done everything asked of him?
And even, what I do when you're emotional, when you're in a terrible mood, don't go to live streaming. Don't just riff. It's just trouble. And they wanted to get him out. But here's my theory on it. Brad Stevens looks at the league, and he looks at Denver and Milwaukee, and they got a title and they cling to their team.
But if that was the first layer of the controversy, the second became even more complicated, because he didn't stop with the Celtics. He shifted the focus directly onto the sports media. That's where the conversation became especially uncomfortable for people who are accustomed to discussing players without much public pushback. He echoed a concern that many players have raised over the years, that too many storylines are driven by anonymous sources. In his view, too many reputations are shaped by private whispers, and too many media personalities rely on unnamed league sources when reporting negative information without revealing who was behind it. When he criticized anonymous executives, anonymous insiders, and unnamed sources, while referencing figures such as Stephen A. Smith, Colin Cowherd, and Bobby Marks, he wasn't simply expressing frustration. He was challenging a system that, in his opinion, creates doubt and speculation around players, then reacts with surprise when those same players publicly defend themselves. And honestly, that's a big reason his comments have connected with so many people. Fans understand how these situations often unfold. They know that anonymous reporting has become a regular part of the NBA conversation, and that naturally leads to questions about where certain stories originate and how much weight they should be given.
He doesn't allow it. He wanted to get out of that Jaylen Brown contract. And he looked at it and he thought, okay, we got our title. Denver got their title. OKC got their title. Milwaukee got their title. Don't do Milwaukee. Don't do Denver. Cling to your guys. And then you look up a couple of years later and you're trapped, or you're too old, or you don't have the assets. And he's like, I've got an asset. Now's the time. Now's the time. Jaylen Brown comes off a great year. 29 points a game, plays defense. Maybe the analytic mavens don't like him, but we got our title. Now it's time to pivot to the second iteration.
A report comes out. It's presented as insider information, and within minutes, it spreads across television, YouTube, and social media. Before long, a player finds himself defending his maturity, professionalism, character, or locker room presence based on claims that can't be independently verified and that no one is required to publicly take responsibility for. That's the system he was pushing back against. He said, keep it basketball. Criticize his performance all you want, but don't cross the line into judging who he is as a person. That distinction is significant because it highlights how modern sports coverage can sometimes move beyond analyzing what happens on the court and instead shape narratives about a player's character that may follow him for years.
Stevens is getting crushed. The GM, they obviously wanted Jaylen Brown out of the building. Jaylen Brown, I had two NBA sources tonight, two people in the league, one an executive, one a scout, say that Jaylen Brown it's a disease. He suddenly thinks he's the smartest guy in every room he's in. I've worked with people in the media. It's really, you get into a really bad space. You make a lot of money. Suddenly you're absolutely sure. You don't want to listen to your bosses. You don't want to listen to consultants. You don't want to listen to teammates. Jaylen's kind of, and by the way, this was, one executive told me, this was always a little bit of Jaylen Brown's personality, kind of the smartest guy in the room, and live streaming and throwing it out there. And that's just not a good space. It used to be nothing good happens after 3 a.m. Nothing good happens when pro athletes live stream. It's just trouble. Stay away from it. You need PR people.
That's what makes this so interesting, because you're watching two completely different eras collide in real time. On one side, traditional sports media believes athletes need public relations teams, carefully filtered messaging, caution, discipline, and tightly managed public appearances. On the other side, more and more players are arguing that fans are exhausted by forced smiles, scripted press conferences, and emotional responses that have been polished until they no longer feel genuine. His point was that audiences are looking for authenticity, even when that authenticity is messy or uncomfortable. That's exactly why his criticism of Colin Cowherd stood out. Cowherd has long argued that live streaming can be risky, impulsive, and ultimately harmful for professional athletes.
Sometimes flat out unfair.
Not that Brown had failed. That was me, sitting directly across from him, face to face in October of 2024, after he won the title, when he wanted to see me face to face. And I sat with him right on my YouTube show. I said what I was trying to say was, this brother is great. He's great on the basketball court. He's great off the basketball court. He's an individual of very high integrity, highly educated, who most people that you encounter consider nothing short of brilliant. But I'm unethical. You can't make this up, ladies and gentlemen. We cover the sport. I think I do so pretty damn well over my career, and I'm pretty objective. I call it like I see it. It ain't personal. We're talking basketball. If he can't take it, tough. We're not going away.
That's a significant accusation. He's arguing that the media's polished version of professionalism can sometimes serve as a shield that protects manipulation rather than preventing it. And once that idea is put on the table, every anonymous report naturally invites more scrutiny. Was it genuine source-based reporting, or was it an agenda shaping the narrative? Was it meaningful insight, or did personal criticism become packaged as objective analysis? That's why his comments struck such a nerve. He wasn't simply rejecting the criticism directed at him. He was questioning the credibility of the entire system responsible for producing those narratives. He even suggested that some of the people citing anonymous sources could also be helping shape those stories behind the scenes. That's a serious claim because it describes a cycle where opinions become rumors, rumors gain momentum, and eventually those rumors are treated as established fact. If that's happening, then fans aren't just consuming information, they're consuming a version of events that can sometimes blur the line between reporting and entertainment.
Brown traded from New England to Philly just weeks after a disgruntled Brown traded from Philly to New England.
Is that fair to say, though?
That took place in the NFL.
Is that fair to say that Jaylen Brown is disgruntled, though? You know what I mean? Because
words matter.
And now we reach the part that makes this story so difficult to ignore. Instead of ending with bitterness alone, it shifts into something even more compelling: reinvention, redemption, and the possibility that Boston may have handed Philadelphia a player with a new level of motivation. Think about the irony. A player shaped by the Celtics culture and conditioned for years to view the 76ers as rivals suddenly finds himself wearing Philadelphia's colors, talking about cheesesteaks, building chemistry, and embracing a fresh start. That's more than changing teams, it's a complete mental reset. And that's exactly why Boston has reason to pay attention. If he genuinely believes the organization disrespected him, failed to fully explain its decision, and allowed questions about his character to spread without addressing them, then every future matchup with the Celtics carries extra meaning. Fans often talk about bulletin board material, but this goes beyond that. It's the kind of motivation tied directly to identity. It's about proving that the franchise he represented no longer recognized what it had. More athletes are choosing to speak earlier, more openly, and with greater honesty than ever before. And many fans appreciate that because it feels more authentic than carefully managed public statements. That's why this moment extends beyond Boston, Brad Stevens, Stephen A. Smith, Colin Cowherd, or one player's frustration. It's about the breakdown of the carefully managed script that has long defined professional sports. It's about what happens when someone on the inside decides to tell the story from his own perspective instead of allowing others to define it for him. Maybe some of what he said was driven by emotion. Maybe some came from frustration. Maybe some of it was intentional strategy. But whether people agree with every word or not, it's difficult to dismiss his comments as meaningless. He gave fans something they rarely get, an honest glimpse into just how complicated, emotional, and deeply personal these so-called business decisions can really be.